Hello there, Saber fans. Shamim here. You guys have been asking for this particular demonstration for a while now, and here it is. This is my video tutorial of how I achieve the shattered weathering finish on some of the custom lightsabers that I've done. So this is just my own personal technique based on trial and error. So other smiths and other artists may do it somewhat differently, which is totally fine, power to them. This is just the technique that I've been using over the last year or so. So we're going to demonstrate today on this piece of, this is a saber part from Custom Saber Shop, one of their MHS body pieces. It's an extra that I had laying around. If you're going to be doing shattered weathering and this is your first time and you may not have any extra lightsaber bits laying around and you don't want to mess up the beautiful saber that you have, you may want to go to your local hardware store into the plumbing section and pick up some copper pipe, some aluminum, steel, brass, any kind of metal piping that you can find. Doesn't matter the length or the diameter, just something that's hollow and that you can practice on. And it's good also to practice on several different kinds of metals because, you know, with your lightsabers, some of the parts may be stainless steel, some of them may be aluminum, brass, copper, and the Dremel and the cutting tool will flow differently through each of those metals. So if you don't have any experience with those, it may be a good idea to get some of those extra pipe pieces from the plumbing section of your hardware store and practice on those, just so that your hand can get a feel for the different metals and become accustomed to the Dremel tool. Speaking of the Dremel tool, here it is. Laho! Very exciting. This is just a hand Dremel that picked up from a local hardware store. The tip at the very end here, this is an engraving tip. It's the smallest size engraving tip that they have. It's a spherical ball at the top of it. They have these in several different diameters and also several different shapes and sizes. So they have a one that's like a cone that is, you know, it has ridges and edges on the cone. It has a cylindrical shape as well that has edges, and then this is a ball that has edges cut throughout it. And again, this is the smallest one. They have it in a couple different sizes, but there we go. It's on setting 5 right now. This is the fastest setting that this particular Dremel goes. We have some sandpaper sponges. These will be good. I'll show what we'll use those for later. Safety equipment are some gloves with rubber grip. And then, of course, your goggles. So you're going to want to put these on first and foremost. And because we are going to be working with the Dremel, you don't want to cut your hand up. What you want to do is cut up the saber, not your hands. Duh. What you may want to do before you start cutting into the aluminum pipe, this is not something that I personally do. You may want to trace out the shattering pattern with like a permanent marker or something before you actually get started. Personally, I like to start somewhere and then just see where the Dremel takes me. I like to kind of live in the moment, but that's just me. So whether you trace it out with a permanent marker or not ahead of time is up to you. So what I will do is I like to sort of hold it in place like this, put my thumb in one side and then hold it like this. And then I'm going to use the Dremel to sort of, you know, carve along the edge of the hilt. It's going to be running, of course. So here we go. Okay, just the first little incision. It's not very deep, and it goes across some of the different levels of the piece that we're working on here. Once I've done an initial cut into it, or an initial section, I'll go over a little bit more closely and a little bit more slowly and just sort of deepen it out and clean it up a little bit. may become necessary to move this around or to switch to the opposite side so that you can get a better angle. So you can see that I also added another little smaller bit that's shooting off of the main line. And I will do that as I continue down throughout the rest of the hill. As I've mentioned on some of my other videos, most of the time I like to start at the bottom and work my way all the way up to the top with at least one of the lines. And then I have a couple other cracks here and there that are not running the length of the hilt. Depending on how weathered and how intense you want your lightsaber to be damaged, there may be just a couple cracks here and there, or the entire thing may be covered in cracks. So we'll do sort of a combination of both. We'll do one side of the hilt that just has one or two things, and then on the other side, maybe we'll do a much more weathered, a much more cracked pattern. And then once we finish all the painting and the sanding at the end of the tutorial, we can kind of see how that changes the effect. So across the length of the hilt, adding a little bit more intense curves, you know, it's not just a little bit of curving, it's a lot of curving here and there. And that, to me, helps add to the authenticity and realism of the cracking lightning that's flowing through the hilt. It's an organic process for me. I draw it as if it's a bolt of lightning that starts somewhere, and then in very, very slow motion, the main crack of lightning comes out, and then a few smaller splinter bits of lightning come out here and there, so that the end result is like a snapshot of forked lightning. want to go very slowly. This is not a quick process. It's not a zzz and then you're done. You can see that all of the lines, there's not a single straight line anywhere. This is just my own personal technique, of course. It's not a it's very much like a shaky hand following all of these curves. That's sort of the effect that I like to go for. Okay, so here is one straight or one single bit from top to bottom. Now let's scroll over here and we'll add a separate piece that's just by itself. And there's its own separate little crack. Maybe we'll add another one down here. There we have another little bit. Okay. Let's add a little bit more on this back side here, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, so we've got some good cracking going across most of the hilt. Maybe one more little bit up here. Okay, next step, once you've finished all of the cracking and you're ready to move on to the painting stage, there's an intermittent stage that I like to do, which is just to sand off the hilt, because a lot of these edges might be sharp, and you definitely want to make sure that any of the loose metal has been sanded away so that everything is nice and smooth. You can go either way, doesn't really matter. Now it's much smoother. Okay, next step will be to paint the hilt. My best friend is Rustoleum. This is flat black. I like to start with the flat black, where does it say? Paint and primer right there. So this primes the hilt. It acts as sort of a base, a primer layer, so that then you can start adding additional kinds of paint and colors on top of it. Okay. Okay. You do the entire hilt one color, sort of a matte black. And then once this has dried in a little bit, we'll come back and we will start doing some additional sort of texture paint colors on top of it. Okay, the black primer has finished drying, so now we can move on to the next stage, which is adding texture. So again, we have Rustoleum Stone Textured Finish. This is the primary texturizing tool that I like to use. It can sometimes get clogged up a bit. But this is the textured finish that it gives us. And there's a hammered finish. This is hammered gray, I believe. Yeah, hammered gray. Again, Rustoleum. It gives it a little bit of a grayish sheen to it. Then add a little bit more texture here. This is Rustoleum multicolor texture in rustic umber. Rustic umber. Gives a little bit of brown texture to it. All of this helps just to layer it up. That's what I like to do is layers. And then again, a little bit more of the black paint and primer. This is flat black. I do this very, very sparingly. So this is what we've ended up with here. We will let this dry now, and then the final stage, or the second to final stage, will be sanding it all down. Okay, all the paint has finished drying now. I can pick it up with my hand, spin it around. It's all good. Our next step will be to do a little bit of sanding on the paint to take away some of the layers of the paint, reveal a little bit of the aluminum underneath. Because right now you can barely see the shattering cracks throughout the hilt. It's very, very, very subtle. The point of doing a little bit of sanding, especially where the lines are, where the shattered cracks are, is to help expose them just a little bit, give a little bit more depth to them. You can see that as I sand, because the cracks are a little bit deeper, the paint has filled in the cracks, and then when you sand away, the cracks are still painted in with the black and the gray and everything that we've painted over it. So it helps to give a little bit more definition to the shattered cracks. And this weathering, the sanding part is to taste. So you do it as much as you want, or as little as you want. And I'll do sort of a finish that I personally like. You can do it with a coarser sandpaper, or you can do it with slightly smoother sandpaper. I personally like to go with the coarser finish. So there you go. We've removed a lot of the weathering and the paint. And we've given a bit more definition to the cracks. Final thing that I like to do is to take a gray permanent marker and then trace into each of the cracks. This helps give just a little bit more depth and dimension to the cracks. And it helps to set the cracks apart from any additional paint that may still be remaining after the sanding right around the cracked sections. I like to use gray instead of black because gray is a lot more subtle than the black, but it still gives enough definition. So you see, compare this section up here to this bit down here. This bit down here looks very much like all of it is the same because it is the same color, whereas up here, these cracks are differentiated from the rest of the painted weathered sections. So I'm going to continue doing that in all of the cracks. I just trace them, and it doesn't have to be perfect because this is, of course, a weathered saber. So just a little bit of additional definition. As the permanent marker dries, it also becomes a little bit less noticeable. So right now, while it's wet, it may appear to be very, very bold. But like up here, this has dried a little bit, and it looks much, much, much better. In my personal opinion, of course. if it turns out that you accidentally take too much of the painting away, you can always redo that second step, which involves all the painting, the spray painting. So you can always do that part again, and then sand it over and hopefully take less away that time if you're not happy with the result. But this is pretty good. Yeah, so there you go. But you'll see that my hands are very dirty, and if I were to clean my hands and go over it again, you'd still get a lot more dust and dirt and grime. So what I'm gonna do is just take a towel cloth, wipe off all of the excess gunk and filth that we have. You know, all that we've sanded off. And then it's time to do a finish on it. So I usually like to use a semi-gloss finish, or a semi-gloss clear finish, I should say. Rustoleum again, it's my go-to. I put my glove on, and then I can do a painted finish. So this will be the last step, is putting on, once you're happy with the way that the weathering looks, the way that the shattering looks, you go ahead and you can apply your finish. So the reason I like the semi-gloss is the clear coat, obviously, it helps to seal and protect everything. I don't like to go for a full gloss, and I also don't like to go for just a flat matte finish. The semi-gloss gives just a little bit of the effect of like there has been heat applied to the hilt. It has suffered a lot of damage, and then some of the damage that it suffered, the lightning that coursed through it, whatever caused the hilt to crack, sort of heats up and glazes over the hilt a little bit. So the semi-gloss gives a little bit of that effect. There you go. And then once this dries, you are all set. And there you have it, guys. It's my tutorial for shattered weathering. I hope that this was useful to you guys. And if you have any questions or comments below, go ahead. If you have any questions, go ahead and comment them below. And I wish you all the best of luck in your shattered weathering exploits. So thank you all so much for watching, and may the Force be with you.